Hey everybody, Nick here, and today we're going to do some disassembly maintenance on this big guy right here. This is the Cold Steel AD-15, based on the Andrew Demko custom. So I have a rough idea how this is going to work, in that I have already taken apart the original custom, and I'm told that they are very, very similar on the inside. And by the way, there is some pretty heavy thread locker on here. I took this guy, I got the pivot off earlier on, but I had to stop the video because, you know, life happened. But anyways, it had some serious thread locker, but a little bit of torque. Got it loose. What's going on here? That's a lot of freaking... Let's try... Is it a different bit size? Yeah, it's a little happier with T10. It's a shame. All right, so what happened there is I was just using a bit that was a little too small for this, and then combined with the copious amounts of thread locker. I mean, seriously. Holy crap, guys. There's... Whew. I've seen less white powder at a Pablo Escobar house party. That's a joke. I've never actually been to a house party at Pablo Escobar's place, although I imagine it would have been fascinating. Now they're less interesting because he's pretty good and dead. But, yeah, nevertheless. Anyways, back at the ranch. There is a lot of thread locker used on this guy. I'm not quite sure why or how or what, but it's certainly a thing. I mean, it's a thing that you're going to want to keep in mind as you are disassembling and maintaining this guy on your own. Oh boy, look at all that. The nice thing about thread locker, though, is that by and large, once you break it once, it's kind of broken. You don't have to worry about it again, and if you use a much more reasonable amount than they have here, things are a little easier. Yeah. All right. I may try and get in there with another tool to kind of remove a little bit more of that, but I may not either. So, anyways, we got this all set here. Let's go ahead and start the disassembly process. We have removed all of the relevant screws. Now we're just being held together by friction and likely by an overabundance of thread lock. Yeah, there we go. We're starting to pop this loose a little bit. I'm just kind of walking this loose, if that makes sense. Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, and this guy, I believe, is going to have the same sprung lanyard hole situation going on, wherein you end up using the lanyard hole itself. The lanyard hole is structural. It's used with a spring to try and hold this back strap down. Let's see here. I'm going to use my Rat Bastard RB Tools little pry bar here to try and get up under this and kind of walk the other side loose here. There we go. All I'm doing just here is kind of shaking it back and forth a little bit. Not applying too much pressure. There we go. And so you see, just by doing that, I'm able to walk this liner off, and then I'll do the same thing in the back here to get the liner the rest of the way off, and then we should be good to go. Come here. I know you want to come loose. All right. Come on now. There we go. Yeah, okay. See, just like it was in the custom. There is this, so actually this gives us a nice little insight into how this thing works. Basically, there is this big lock bar guy in the back here, the scorpion lock. You can see here, if I move my arm, that when I lift it, it actually compresses this spring a little bit here. And so, in order to get this, can I pop the pivot through the other side? Maybe. In order to get any of this thing apart, what I need to do is lift, no, I can get the blade off without that. There we go. So now I've got that in place. I don't actually feel like I need to remove this and thus fight to get this spring back in there. So I'll just kind of break it down to, oh, that's Teflon. I bet there's another one on the other side. Yeah, okay, so they're doing that thing where they put a little bit of Teflon on top of some phosphor bronze. It may be that you can get away without doing that, that if you remove the Teflon, you're going to be fine. But it also might be that it's trying to, it just gives them a little bit of... my understanding, and I'm not a knife maker, I can't vouch for this, but my understanding is that makers like doing that because it gives them basically a little bit of slop. It gives them the ability to miss, be off very, very slightly in dimensionality, and it'll still work. But again, that may not be what's going on here at all. Knife maker, if you're a knife maker and you're watching that, tell me why the heck you're doing that. It doesn't freaking make any sense to me. I know that some factories like doing that, others do not. But anyways, we now have this guy largely apart here, and we can see that it's a relatively simple design. I mean, there's this backstrap thing, there's the spring that keeps it in place. And look, even if that spring fails, the knife fails, your hand, the gripping on this guy, will keep the knife shut, so it's not like that spring is a serious point of failure. Maybe in the long term, if it were to, completely give out, you'd have trouble. But for the most part, this is absolutely good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this, kind of clean that out. Use a Q-tip here. Get that nice and saturated. Get up in here and clean. Inside of the, oh man, inside of the pivot hole is a little rough in there. Looks like, I don't quite know what's going on, but there's a lot of burring, a lot of snaggage. It's not ideal. It's probably part of the reason why there's a little bit of unsmoothness here. Whatever, it's not the end of the world, and for the price, given compared to the custom, yeah, I can live with that. But I'm just going ahead and cleaning everything out in here, making sure everything looks solid, looks good to go. Then we can go ahead and reassemble. We are not, this is, at some level, like I said, a relatively simple knife. Or at least a simple knife design. I'm going to go ahead and use the, knife pivot lube here on this guy. Here we go. Beautiful, beautiful. And drop the phosphor bronze onto there. And over lubricate a little bit. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to try and lift. How am I going to do this? I think I am going to try and actually wedge this guy open such that the scorpion lock goes up. And I will then, hopefully beyond all hope. Yeah, there we go. I've got that good and clear now. So I'm hoping I should be able to get this blade into position here. Come on. Oh, hey, I should probably lube the pivot. There's that. All right. There we go. All right. Good. So we are back into position here. Well, partially at least. So I did what I needed to do there. That actually worked relatively well, all told. I'll go ahead and put a little lubrication right against here. It's not like a major point of, but it can't help to have a little lubricity going on. All right, let's go ahead and put lubricate this side here. Beautiful. Spin that around. My hope is this will be a little smoother, especially once I adjust things like pivot tension, things like that. And then I'm not going to go ahead and lube the back of the Teflon. Hope it kind of goes out of the system, so to speak. All right, so I might need to adjust things a little bit here. There we go. No, actually, we'll pop back together. All the washers are in place. We can go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and try and remove a little bit of this gunk here. They, like I said, massively overshot the thread locker. So I'm just using this tool, which I know to be relatively soft, to kind of clean up the threads a little bit here. All right. There we go. Actually, where is my canned air? Canned air can occasionally be helpful here for getting up in there. It'd be nice if I had an actual, compressor, but alas, I do not. It would be very nice, though. I always feel like an asshole buying canned air. I mean, it's like, come on. I am literally purchasing something that is all around me. Turns out compression is an important and tricky thing to do in a small apartment. I wish I had a garage, but that's okay. Someday. Get a big old belt grinder out there. Yeah, okay. Anyways, I'm fantasizing. Look, I live in Southern California. Like, I'm going to be able to afford having a garage. It's hilarious. Nah. All right, come on. I'm just trying to get a little bit of the gunkitude out of this. Just to see if I can make a tiny difference at least. Where is my... Here we go. I should have tested T10 first. That's frustrating. When I was trying to undo that earlier, that was not my most brilliant moment. I mean, we all know I'm not a brilliant man, but that was big even by me. By my standards, that is. All right, so I've removed some of that there. Always make sure that you're not using that there's no play and whatnot when you're trying to pop everything. There we go. Into place with your drivers and whatnot. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use a lot less thread locker than they did on this guy here. Let me make sure these are the same screw. Yeah, same thing. All right. Go ahead and pop this into position. I'm not, like, super cranking on it yet because, well, I don't quite, you know, I want to make sure everything's dialed in before I do so. Run it a couple of times. Do the same thing here. Man, they thread locked that guy. That was some serious freaking business, that thread locking. Okay, that's too tight. Let's loosen this up a little. Oh, yeah. A little too loose, and a little bit of blade play now. Tighten it up. No play. Oh, yeah, that's better. That is way better than it started. Still dead center. Nice. Okay, so there you go. That was your disassembly and your maintenance. Like I said, no real surprises. It was, in many ways, I mean, you could have convinced me, if it didn't say Cold Steel on the side, you could probably have convinced me that this was yet another custom AD-15, except for, you know, they have some actual phosphor bronze in this one. So, you know, yeah, I'm impressed with the build quality and whatnot, and keep an eye out for the full review coming up here before too long. So, hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.